Not even 1.5 years passed since the release of Battlefield 5, and EA already pulls the plug on it, proving that games as a service are a ridiculous joke. In the end of April 2020, they announced that the last content update is coming. In the end of June 2020, DICE will release the last official chapter of Battlefield 5, and from there on, it's just new challenges and double XP days in the future. Funny, isn't it? Just up until recently, they tried to make us think that this will be a long-term project. In early 2019, EA and DICE posted that, "Overall, it's been a good kickoff to our new live service. But we're also constantly listening to your input on how we've supported Battlefield 5 so far, and all our future updates will be made with community feedback in mind." It's funny how they don't call it a game, just a live service. Despite this bullcrap that they are trying to listen to the community, this statement is completely false, or at least they are going to great lengths to make it seem so. Sure, there's no definition on how long a GAS has to get content to be called one, GAS being the acronym for Games as a Service. But only 1 year of content? Let's not forget that the first chapter has been content that was missing and was supposed to be in the release version, making Battlefield 5 yet another AAA early access game. Pay full price and get an unfinished game. I mean, even Ubisoft, a company that we here at ESCalation criticized many times for their greedy practices, are providing their games as a service products like Rainbow Six Siege with a steady amount of content. Siege was released in December of 2015 and got a new map and 2 new operators pretty much every 3 months. And the next 2 years of content are already safe, with Ubisoft given the promise of full support till 2022. And given their track record on this front, it's believable. This means they are going to provide 7 years of content and are making a shitload of money. Proving that games as a service doesn't have to be a shitshow like Battlefield. Battlefield 5 had a terrible start, and I mean the marketing campaign with all the controversies, the stupid statements from one former boss at DICE, and then the beta was a joke as well, a sad tradition for the Battlefield series. Every single Battlefield except Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 1 was almost unplayable on release, filled with bugs, glitches, errors, and Battlefield 5 wasn't even finished on release. The entire gimmicky German single-player campaign was missing. Features that had already been in the previous games were not included, like reload animations for anti-tank guns, private servers and admin tools, not a thing. All of this was missing, and adding to that, the game was about 50% copy and paste from the previous installment. We've covered that extensively in our Battlefield 1 recycling video. Moving over to some gadgets, Battlefield 5 reuses a lot of the guns and close combat weapons from the previous game. That is fine, historically speaking. A lot of World War I equipment ended up in use during World War II. However, it does feel somewhat lazy when a lot of the models, sounds and animations in the game are simply reused. Even if... Remember the amazing co-op missions we were promised? We gave them the time to review them. Once again, copy and paste, broken and repetitive nonsense. Then the amazing Battle Royale update, Firestorm. That's the thing that was going to save Battlefield 5 and propel it to the forefront of gaming charts. Except it didn't. Battle Royale modes are not the amazing Wunderwaffe they were hoping for. Battlefield 5 is not a bad game in itself. The Battlefield formula has always been fun. Okay, it's also not a good game, but it has been getting better. The entire Pacific War update was good. I liked it. And now they are pulling the plug, ending it. Just now, as it seems to be getting back on track, back on the right track to a good game? Sure, I guess it makes sense from EA's point of view. Financing a Battlefield game with silly cosmetics like they planned was a very big flop in the beginning. And it would take a lot of time and especially money for DICE and EA to get Battlefield 5 into a state in which you can call it a good and complete game. And I don't think that you can come back from all the damage. At least not in the scale they would need it to call it a financial success. There is no comeback from the controversies, the bad reputation, the hate and the dislike. First impressions go a long way, and they gambled away theirs. Let's be honest, the majority of gamers not only don't care for this game anymore, they want something new, and they won't come back. The effort it would take would be too great on EA's part. They must have made their calculations and came to the conclusion, we'll cut the costs here. We'll make a fresh start with a new game, even if that pisses off a bunch of our gamers. I mean, it's EA, you can't lose a good reputation if you don't have one to begin with. In the end, Battlefield 5, a game with big potential, will be remembered as one of the worst Battlefield games in the franchise. Not because it was a bad game like Battlefield Play for Free, or cause it had the wrong setting like Battlefield Hardline. It will be remembered as a bad game because some people in high positions made wrong decisions and didn't give two fucks about the franchise that is older than most of their players, and also didn't give a shit about the customers and tried to milk them dry. You know, the whole hashtag everyone's Battlefield was all fine and dandy. I get you are trying to reach a new demographic and expand your customer base, but if you try to do that at the expense of your original fans, then you should not be surprised when you fail. Just take a look over at Hollywood. Disney's Star Wars is an amazing example on how to alienate and split your fanbase and drive a whole movie franchise straight into a wall. Star Wars lets us circle back nicely to EA, because they also worked on the just cancelled Star Wars Battlefront 2, a game that came with another amazing explosion of controversies started by an exorbitant amount of greed found on EA and Disney's part. Is the games as a service model the sole reason why Battlefield 5 was such a dumpster fire, and for that matter Battlefront 2 as well? No, there are a whole host of reasons that played into it. But in a time where loot boxes fell out of favor and turned away more and more players, the live service model became very appealing. Release a minimal game and just drip feed in content, minimal effort for maximum reward. Banking on an established franchise name, so people will go and buy it anyways. Will the last update turn Battlefield 5 into the complete game we would love to see? Well, I wouldn't count on it. So to wrap this up, factoring in all the issues plaguing Battlefield 5, we can still conclude that the greed behind the business model was this game's biggest fault. Considering how toxic the games as a service model is to video games, we can safely say that Battlefield 5 has been gassed to death. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving it a thumbs up and sticking around by subscribing for future content. A special thanks to all supporters on Patreon, who of course got to see this video first. To them and everyone else, thank you for watching. So, see you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.